There are two towns in Burlington County that both have historic main streets, and we're going to compare them today.
Yeah.
All right. Those are the towns of Medford and the towns of Mount Holly.
Those are good. Yeah.
Two very different towns that are connected on the same county road, 541.
Right.
So you travel up 541, also known as Medford, Mount Holly Road, and you literally can get from Medford to Mount Holly. Both are very, very different. We're going to compare the pros and cons of these two different towns. We're going to compare what makes them stand out, what makes them unique, and the advantages of both, because there are things, depending on how you want to live your life, that one might be more appealing than the other.
Totally. And if you haven't been to the channel before, definitely make sure to stick around, because we have all kinds of information to unpack to help you understand what greater living is like in South Jersey. Don't forget to book an appointment with us if you want to talk more about this, because we love chatting with people who are looking into the area and trying to figure out if this is the next place for the next chapter of your life.
So if you're considering making a move anytime soon, definitely reach out to us, book an appointment, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, because we would love to chat with you. And thank you so much for joining our community right here on YouTube. So let's start by talking about, obviously, geographically. We have two towns that are very close to each other, but there are geographical advantages to both. Now with Mount Holly, you're going to be closest to both 295 and the Turnpike.
Right. It's super accessible. You can probably get on either of those in 10 minutes or less, depending on what part of Mount Holly you're at.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely parts of Mount Holly where it's literally 5 minutes to the Turnpike. So if you're a commuter,
right,
Mount Holly is definitely going to be above and beyond Medford.
Yes.
Because Medford, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but it is further out there.
Right. And once you get to on some of those roads that kind of like finger out into Medford as well, your A to B connection isn't quite as direct as it might be, whereas Mount Holly is a little bit more condensed. It's not quite as spread out.
If you're looking to get from Medford, you're either going to be coming down 541, which is the county road that's going to run you from Mount Holly to Medford. So you can take the Turnpike, go down 541, about 15-20 minutes from the Turnpike entrance.
It's a really pretty drive, though.
It's a beautiful drive, but it is 15 to 20 minutes from those major thoroughfares. Or you can take Route 70. Now, Route 70 is going to run you through Marlton, and then you'll hit Medford. So if you're coming from Philadelphia, for example, for work, you're going to be coming likely along Route 70 until you get to Main Street, Medford. And then you can venture from there.
Yep. And then if you were going to New York, you're going to hit Turnpike or 295, depending on how you like to go that way. Okay.
So definitely geographically, if you're looking for proximity to major highways, Mount Holly is going to beat Medford.
Right.
But geographically, if you're looking for more open space, if you're looking for that vacation-like lifestyle that Medford tends to offer,
right,
Medford is definitely going to top the list in a better geographic location.
Yeah, it's definitely more of that nature hug, that outdoor space that a lot of people are looking for if they're trying to get out of the city or get out of some of the more congested areas like in North Jersey and things like that.
Sure. So let's compare the main streets. How would you categorize the major differences between Medford and Mount Holly?
One of the other important points of comparison with Mount Holly and Medford is that these towns actually have main streets. Not every town in South Jersey has its own main street. There's probably more than just a handful, but these ones actually have like designated main streets, but they're different.
They're very different. So exactly, I live in Lumberton, which is right between the two. Lumberton has a main street, but there's no businesses on it. There's nothing on it. It's all largely residential. It used to, once upon a time, many, many lifetimes ago, there were businesses on Main Street, but they don't exist anymore. So as you look at the two on either end of the bookend, Medford and Mount Holly, they are very radically different. So Mount Holly has certainly the two thoroughfares.
Right.
You have High Street, which is probably what most people consider
that would be your typical
Main Street in Mount Holly. That's where you're going to find a lot of your restaurants, and you get the record shop, You get the dispensaries, et cetera, so forth, right there on High Street. And then there's the offshoot, which is Millrace Village. Millrace Village is going to be more craftsmen, smaller shops. They are residential homes that have been converted into businesses, as opposed to High Street, which are buildings
Definitely
that
commercial spaces. That's
correct. There's also some businesses along, once you go up High Street and it starts to head towards the Turnpike, it gets more commercial. And that's where you're going to have your Acme. That's where you're going to have Staples and those kinds of stores there. Your more bigger box stores. Now, venturing down, comparing to Medford, Medford is going to have, I think Medford is like a little bit more of a higher end shop. Like Mount Holly, Main Street is more, I would say, accessible feeling. I think Medford is probably a little bit more upper scale. There's more antique shops.
It has a little bit more of a consistent character. I think it's part of it, which is why like they can do like the Christmas walking
Festival.
tours, the Dickens Festival thing, because that Main Street actually is conducive to it, because it's kind of all consistent, historic, more of a historic, traditional Main Street.
I definitely think that there's been a little bit more intentionality with the development of Medford as comparison to Mount Holly, which has recently seen a big boom in the downtown area. I really think that the Main Street in Mount Holly is potentially poised to be like a fish town in Philly. It's gonna be a little bit rougher around the edges, but it's got like this kind of like underground, edgy, hip kind of vibe.
Trendy.
That is starting to bubble with that you certainly see in the dispensaries and the breweries that are popping up. Now, Medford, on the other hand, there is going to be a new distillery opening on Main Street. There's a lot of controversy around that because they tore down the old town hall, which was honestly not in great shape. It wasn't really salvageable. So they're going to build a building, and I've seen the plans, and I think they're going to do a good job of, although it will be a modern building, I think in some ways it will feel like it belongs on the Main Street. People have wildly, deeply rooted and passionate opinions about this.
That's always one of those things that's challenging when you have a more traditional or like cohesive feel to like a Main Street, is that, well, what new things can fit in that don't necessarily disrupt that? So anytime you do something new, there's always the apple cart that could get upset.
And people have a deeply rooted passion for historic homes and historic buildings. Right? You and I both live in older historic homes, but people are very wildly passionate about it. So anytime you're going to have development that removes the demolition or major altercation of an older historic building or home, people get very intensely opinionated about it, and rightfully so. I understand. I mean, we've seen that even in Morristown on Main Street. There is a lot of very strong opinions about what to do with different buildings on Main Street that don't function for its modern needs. How do you accommodate the love for the older and the historic, but also need to have contemporary function to allow for the development of and benefit of the Main Street?
Yep. It's like anything else. When you have something that's more established, establishing something new, well, it can be great. It comes with obstacles.
Absolutely. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the new building on Medford Main Street does to the community. I think it's going to be a great thing. I think anytime that you can bring some life and revitalization to a downtown, as long as like the building is appropriate, it's great. Like there's nothing worse than sticking something that is just, if you were to put a very modern structure there, it would not be, it would be a little bit of an eyesore. But if you're doing something with a beautiful brick facade, it can work really lovely on Main Street. So I think if you're looking for more upscale antiques, if you're looking for a little bit of nicer restaurants, you're going to find that in...
There's also some more like boutique shopping and things like that. That is helpful as well.
Yeah, I always think that Mount Holly is it's one good restaurant away. The former Otts would be an awesome location, but I always think like a barbecue joint would be great, like something kind of upscale, but still accessible. Maybe a little industrial vibe could be cool inside, because we do have some great restaurants in Mount Holly, like the Robin's Nest, which sort of anchors on the corner of the traditional High Street, Main Street, and the Millrace Village, and is a beloved staple of the community, and rightfully so. The food is fantastic.
Yeah, we got to get over there.
But we just need, I think Mount Holly could really benefit from one more really great sit-down restaurant that has some size to accommodate a large crowd of people, because that would bring more people to the main street. So if someone wants to get that restaurant space, it would be awesome. Let's compare the next point of the difference between the two towns. Let's talk about affordability.
Definitely one of the things that you're going to see is that there is a difference in the offerings of homes, as well as the pricing available. I mean, one of the things about Medford is it has maybe even a little bit more of some exclusivity. You have the golf course, you have Medford Lakes, that it feels like it's a vacation town because that is what it used to be, right? And so it's something where I think has drawn people to it who could maybe afford to pay a little bit more to make, because it's a little bit more remote, you pay a little bit more to have that peace and quiet so that you don't have to go places. And that's why some of the property values and things like that, because it's just a little bit more exclusive.
Medford is definitely going to be more affluent than Mount Holly.
Right.
They're both going to offer you some very similar things, like with their main streets and so forth, and they're not too terribly far apart from each other. But even if you were to look at the townhouse, a townhouse in Medford is going to cost you more than a townhouse in Mount Holly.
Right.
If you're looking for a starter home, if you're someone who's just starting on your home buying journey, I would absolutely recommend Mount Holly. Hands down, you're gonna get a great value. And I also think with the ongoing revitalization of the main street, Mount Holly just has further to go.
Yeah.
There's more to develop there, because traditionally it has been a little rough around the edges. I think as it's continuing to grow and there's more and more nicer businesses coming into town and occupying some of the buildings that are currently sitting empty, you're definitely going to see property values appreciate with that. So it's a good place to look if you want to park yourself and build some equity over time.
Well, it's kind of it's similar to the comparison between the main streets too, right? Because the one is more established, which if something's more established, you know what you're going to get, and that's part of the reason why you're going for it, and you might pay more of a premium for that. Yeah. Whereas Mount Holly, maybe as a community or an up-and-coming real estate market isn't quite as established as Medford, but that's also where you're going to have a little bit more opportunity. People who are willing to be a part of establishing that trend upward are the people who are obviously going to see the greatest benefits, because they were willing to kind of be the ones to advocate for it and to lift it up.
If you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit more affluent, you're looking for something with a little bit more exclusivity, and financially that makes sense for you, I would definitely recommend Medford for that. If you're upsizing and you want a little more of that vacation feel, a little bit more of that quietness, right? You definitely are going to want to look at Medford.
Right.
You can get access to private beaches there. You can definitely get some homes that are tucked away in the woods along one of the lakes. You can also live closer to the main street, and they do have suburban offshoot developments where you can get homes that are going to be anywhere from $500,000, $600,000 for a 4-bedroom house, all the way up to $1.5 million.
Yeah.
There's
some of those lakefront homes are really, they have some crazy stuff.
Oh, they're really beautiful. And if you want that larger sort of executive level home, you can go to a community like the Preserves at Fieldstone, for example, where you can get that $1.5 million house that's just gigantic. So there's definitely opportunities there. If you want an older Victorian, though, you could definitely look at Mount Holly and get a great deal. Our friend Megan just bought a house on High Street. We previewed one of our past videos for to High Street. This beautiful brick facade of a Victorian home that just was searching for the right buyer, and she got a fantastic deal on it.
Of course.
She's in a great community, and it's just only going to continue to build value over time.
Yeah. And that's one of those where you have some of those houses in Mount Holly that you might be able to get at a little bit better feeling price, but they're also good historic homes that have good bones, and they're not going anywhere. They've stood the test of time. They're going to continue to stand the test of time. And then as that community tends to be on the uptrend, you get like the benefit of both worlds a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about the schools.
Right.
So both Medford and Mount Holly are both a part of regional schools.
Right.
Mount Holly is going to attend the Rancocas Valley Regional High School, which is going to share the school district with Lumberton, West Hampton, and East Hampton. If you are attending high school in Medford, you're going to be a part of the Lenape School District.
Right.
You're going to be sharing that school district with not only the residents of Medford, of course, but you're going to be sharing that school district with Mount Laurel and Marlton as well. So there's certainly benefits of being in a regional high school. According to niche.com, the Lenape School District is going to rank higher than the Rancocas Valley Regional High School.
There are people who feel, we just had a client today who she loves the Rancocas Valley School District, and that's part of the reason why she's looking at Mount Holly and Lumberton.
That's where I live, you know? I mean, it has a great academic program. It has great after-school programs. So there's a lot to offer people. Just depends on what your own personal and lifestyle needs are. You're going to want to do your own homework. You're going to want to figure out what's most important to you when making that decision. So niche.com is a great website to do your research. When you're looking at schools, you can also look at a website like greatschools.com. They're going to have awesome resources for you. And of course, we're happy to point you in the direction to find those things.
I would say, from a personal opinion, if you wanted to look at aesthetics, though, there is something cool about Rancocas Valley. It's like a high school that's like the setting of a movie or something.
I always say it's like the high school from Greece.
Yeah.
It has these just grand columns, this beautiful dome. It's a classic, old school American kind of school that is just kind of stunning to look at. I mean, I definitely love that. So lots to consider. There are pros and cons to both. You got to remember, New Jersey is ranked number 2 in the entire country for schools.
Right.
So regardless of where you're going, your kids are going to have access to great academic programs. Just do your research so you know which one is the right needs for your family.
Absolutely. So if either Mount Holly or Medford sound like something that would be interesting to you and maybe be the right fit for your next move, definitely reach out to us, book an appointment. We'd love to talk to you more about it and unpack how greater living can happen for you in South Jersey in one of these two great communities.
Thanks for watching, and just remember, every move matters.